what I experienced was incredible.
I knew it was a life or death situation. I was terrified. I was certain this is it. I'm not coming back. I died. But I fought and made it back.
There was a lot of light, but sometimes also a lot of darkness. To experience how quickly life can just end, that changed everything. It used to be that I was always searching for something, but I didn't have a clue where or how to look for it. I really wanted to find something to inspire me and give me a genuine passion for life. I'm Leia, I'm 29 years old, and I live here in the Swiss canton of Aargau. I work as a dance and movement therapist, and my near-death experience 4 years ago dramatically changed my life.
Leia's old life was quiet and uneventful. She worked a normal marketing job in Zurich.
My life was mainly work and exercise. I used to be a pretty boring person. And then I was at a birthday party. It was 4 years ago, and there was a cake. And I knew there was cannabis in the cake. I thought, come on, don't be so boring and try a piece. The following 8 hours completely changed my life. Yes, I knew there were drugs in it, probably a mixture of drugs. Because even afterwards, no one could explain why my body reacted the way it did. I dipped in and out of consciousness for a long time. I had a friend with me who's familiar with all kinds of substances, but even she didn't understand what was happening. And then I was taken to a hospital. My friend took videos of me. I asked her to do it in case I somehow pulled through. I drifted in and out of consciousness. I looked far away, but I was present the whole time. I registered everything that was going on. I also remember seeing my body from above. I was high up in the room and saw myself lying there, as well as my family members, my parents, my sister, my best friend. I could only see my body. I couldn't see up as far as my head. It was a very peaceful moment. It was extremely calm. There was a light there the whole time, like being drawn into a tunnel, and I saw my life flash before me, and I relived every emotion I'd experienced over my life. That it's possible to see myself having that experience is mind-blowing. I slowly started to regain consciousness, and as it kicked back in and I became more aware of the people there, I was afraid I was going to die. I thought, how am I going to get back? I don't want to die. It went on for several hours, lurching between the most peaceful calm I'd ever experienced and the most difficult, darkest fear of death. And the switch back to the light and the sense of calm. And at some point I felt I wanted to reach this light. It's so beautiful. Here, I'm complete.
My name's Laethisia Schimek. I'm a top athlete and police officer. I'm a member of the sports promotion group for the Hesse State Police. I'm 32 years old, and my near-death experience is the reason for my happy life. Sport was always a part of my life. I've got two older brothers, and at some point they both took up inline speed skating. As the little sister, I always wanted to follow in their footsteps. I'm at my home track in Groß-Gerau. Right now I'm training for the European Championships. For me, what's special about inline skating is that you can reach really high speeds through your own strength alone. It's a particular kind of thrill, exactly what I'm looking for in competitive sport. Before, when my weekly training schedule came through, there was no question of me not working through it. I thought I had to earn happiness first, that I had to work extra hard if I was going to be happy, to be allowed to be happy even. I was world champion, European champion several times. I already had it all, but somehow it wasn't enough.
Back then, Leticia couldn't have known that an accident would completely change her outlook on life.
I'm Chanel, I'm 24 years old. My long history of illness resulted in my near-death experience.
Chanel was still a child, just 11 years old, when she had a brush with death.
I have Crohn's disease, which is a chronic intestinal illness. In my case, it was very, very severe, and I almost died. I'm very, very grateful that my mum was at my side during the most difficult time of my life. I'm sure I wouldn't have coped or survived this near-death experience without her.
Feine Maus. Gut machst du das.
I'm an only child and my mum's a single parent. That's why we have a very special bond. I had a very carefree and happy childhood. What every child wishes for. I grew up close to stables and always had horses. I thought at 7, 8 or even 10 years old I had my whole life ahead of me, but suddenly that wasn't the case. Back then I had diarrhea, stomach pains and couldn't tolerate much food. I just wasn't feeling well, and then the marathon of doctor and hospital appointments began, but no one really knew what was wrong with me. My gut was full of bacteria, and it was getting worse because it wasn't being treated. My mum was the only person who was with me the whole time. She didn't leave my side for a second.
We had a normal life, as most kids would. But then Chanel couldn't live that normal life anymore. Her lightheartedness was gone.
In 2012, Chanel's condition rapidly deteriorated.
I can still remember being taken to hospital. It was like in a movie, with all the doctors and scrubs looking down on me, and me being rushed through this bright light at breakneck speed, with Mum standing there and then being separated from her. I knew what was happening, and I was sure I'd never see my mum again.
I recently took a big step, and I'm opening my own movement studio, and I'm in the process of setting it up. I just want to be joyful, because I think if I'm joyful, the people who come to the studio will feel that too, and it'll inspire them. A huge change has occurred inside of me since this experience, or because of this experience. It's like night and day. It's as though a little door has opened. I walked through this door and now I'm having a look around.
To begin her new life, Leia gave up her steady job and even put in notice on her apartment.
I'm just clearing away my bedroom because I have to make a few sacrifices for my dream. My studio is also a bit like my home, to relieve me of the pressure of having to rent another flat. Then I can sleep at my mom's or my boyfriend's. I'm at home in a few places, including here when I need it. The mattress can be stowed away to clear the room for whatever else might be happening here. I'm standing at the threshold of a new beginning, and it's very exciting. At the same time, presenting me with many challenges. Sure, with my income from my marketing job, I had security. But I know what my heart wants. I want to take this path and face my doubts and fears. I'm giving up my apartment for it. I don't know what the next few months will be like. Where will the money come from? How will I manage? I remember when I signed the contract, I thought, oh crap, what am I doing? Should I be doing this? But the drive, the curiosity is greater than the fear.
My near-death experience definitely left scars on my skin, but also on my soul. I was training like crazy. I was trying so hard to get better. My season was over at that point. I'd won medals at the World and European Championships and was extremely frustrated because they weren't golds. And then I crashed on my mountain bike. When I crashed, I flew over my bike and broke my collarbone. I was operated on. 2 wires were implanted to hold the fracture together. The operation itself was a standard procedure. No one could have guessed that it would endanger my life. 3 or 4 weeks after my collarbone surgery, I collapsed at home. One of the implanted wires had come loose and pierced my aorta. The blood flowed into the pericardium and, over time, compressed my heart so much that it eventually stopped beating. The next moment, I was up on the ceiling, with my consciousness, my soul, whatever you want to call it. The feeling was one of sadness. I saw my naked, dead body on the stretcher. I saw the doctors and nurses hurrying around the table trying to do something. But I knew I was up here. That was it. I felt kind of a pity. I'm not done yet. I've still got stuff I want to do. But I knew I wasn't coming back. It's like time stood still for me. I knew time didn't matter anymore. This is just a room. I couldn't hear anything anymore, but I could still see everything that was going on. Suddenly there was a deathly silence. I'm not coming back. But then the doctor finally managed it. The blood drained away and my heart could start working again. And then I came back into my body and I knew immediately, okay, now it's time to fight. This now is your most important battle. Everyone around me carried on fighting the whole time. That's why I was flown to the nearest hospital as fast as possible. And I think it was on the second day. I was still lying there with oxygen tubes in my nose because I was struggling to breathe. I was in pain everywhere. I can't even describe it. I just felt miserable. And I wasn't thinking about anything in particular. But then I suddenly felt this intense, deep feeling of love and gratitude. It was like a light that flooded through me and stayed for quite a long time. And I just started crying because I was grateful, because I understood what it means to live.
But a short time later, Leticia also began to feel anxious. Just like Leia, after she woke up in hospital.
And I can still remember the precise moment when I was back in my body. I could sit up, my body had regained control. I sensed that I had changed somehow, but I wasn't ready to talk about it because I knew no one would understand. And then came the first panic attacks. The next 12 months were anything but easy, and I was often taken back to that dark place. I suffered from extreme anxiety. I was even too scared to travel by train on my own at night. And then, just by chance, I got a call from my father. He says he knows a woman who's a dance and movement therapist. It might be good for me. Maybe she can help. She looked at me and said, "You've been given a tremendous gift. You just don't understand it yet. You've been given the opportunity to glimpse into another world, or perhaps a brief glimpse of what may lie ahead. And these impressions were so new, it's understandable that you felt the ground slip away from under your feet for a moment." You regain the confidence to be present in your body. And then you can begin to look at and recognize this gift. Really recognize what's happened to you. I mean, grounding was a concept I was familiar with at the time. People say walk barefoot through the forest. Being grounded is extremely important, but I didn't really know what it felt like until then. And because she put it that way, she didn't just say, "Yes, you took too many drugs and it went badly." Because she looked at me honestly, and I felt like she knew what she was talking about, she planted a seed of hope in me. And from that moment on, I knew I wanted to understand how to make the most of this gift and continue to do so.
After being rushed to hospital at the age of 11, Chanel's life was hanging in the balance.
I know it can be over quickly, that you can die quickly, but it's not something a child can truly grasp. Because my illness was treated incorrectly, the bacteria eventually migrated from my intestines through my body, through my bloodstream, and then attacked certain areas, my arm, my foot, and even my head. I was covered in black, dark blue lumps, as if the skin had rotted away, and the doctor said because it had already reached my left elbow and was moving closer to my heart, any further spread would have killed me.
In limbo, between life and death, Chanel experienced something she can't explain.
I was walking through a very bright light. I saw my grandmother. It was like a dream. I only knew her from pictures, and I saw her, and she looked exactly as I remembered her, just as young as she was when she passed away. The weather was beautiful, the sun was shining, it was lovely. I was carrying my dog, the one we had back then, and then I saw this woman in the distance, ran towards her, realized it was my grandmother, and handed her my dog. All I know is that she said I should come with her, that she wanted to show me something. Then I said, "No, I want to go back. I don't want to go with you. I'm going back." But I left my dog with her.
When she told me this, I was so shocked, because sadly our dog died that very same night.
I only just told you about this dream, which was very real to me, and you said, "Yes, that's right, Pippi really did pass away." But that can't be true. You can't know that because I didn't tell you. You wanted to protect me, of course, because I was doing so poorly.
I didn't want to make you feel even worse.
I hope whenever somebody leaves us, they're okay. Since then, I've had a very strong belief in supernatural powers. When I tell the story, everyone gets goosebumps and doesn't believe it. I started talking about it on social media, mainly to reach people who might have experienced the same thing. It quickly generated interest. Many people responded, saying my video gave them strength.
Leticia barely survived the emergency surgery and the air ambulance flight to another hospital. It's an experience she's still working through.
I consciously registered a lot, but some things I only stored subconsciously. The first time I heard a helicopter, I had a real physical breakdown without understanding why. That sound, that rattling noise. I started shaking and crying. I had to sit down. I was hyperventilating and I didn't know why. Until I finally understood. This sound triggers me. I soon got an appointment with a very good psychologist, and we honed in on my attitude to life, because that seemed to be the main issue that was impacting me in a negative way. The problem was there before, and the near-death experience and trauma exacerbated it. When I'm competing or training, for example, this doggedness, the constant striving for achievement, happiness and so on, that's a bit of what makes a person who they are, and I was on the wrong track.
The self-discovery that might lead you to go abroad in search of new experiences is something I feel in dance. This realization that there's so much more than what we believe, see, and hear. When I dance, I'm at one with myself. I'm free, connected, and I'm alive. Where I'm at right now, I'm putting myself out there doing new things. I'm planning a 2-day event about being connected with minimal reliance on words. Learning all that through the body, being connected with other people.
Leia wants to inspire others with her new insights, but it's also a question of her livelihood. The dance studio needs to make money. Although Chanel's near-death experience was 13 years ago, it has altered her perspective on the world.
I'm a firm believer in fate and the universe and that everything happens for a reason. I'm not a skeptical person now. I believe there's something up there and that gives me a sense of security. I don't know, sometimes when I'm driving, I touch it and do this. It helps me feel safe.
Today, Chanel leads a confident, successful life.
Hi. All okay?
Yes.
Then take a seat.
She works as an influencer and model.
In 2021, I took part in Germany's Next Topmodel. I never dreamed they'd take me.
Germany's Next Topmodel is a casting show for young women hoping to break into modeling in Germany.
I don't know where I found the courage to put myself up for Germany's Next Topmodel. It came from nowhere, but I was accepted and had to go for it. It really boosted my self-confidence because I met so many people who weren't perfect. The program's season celebrated diversity for the first time without classic 90-60-90 bodies, a bit curvy, a bit smaller. We had petite models and me with my scars, so many kinds of people. It made me realize that everyone's normal just the way they are, and just because you're a little different, it doesn't mean you're not normal.
Yes, that's cool with the hands like that.
Yep.
Very good.
None of my friends knew about my story or my scars. They all knew I'd been ill and in hospital, but never how bad it really was because I never talked about it. Because social media is my job, a part of that is showing yourself, putting yourself in front of the camera and sharing your life with your followers. And the reality is that things are imperfect. No one has a perfect life. Instagram stories are just a part of that, and posting them takes courage. I'm always straight up with you guys. I say, be yourselves and don't pretend to be someone else. You're perfect. And yes, you are, but it's just not that easy. And I still struggle with it a lot. I don't even have a problem showing my scars on camera anymore. That doesn't bother me so much. But outside, where you can feel people staring, I think everyone should look the way they look. It's totally normal to have blemishes, spots, stretch marks and scars. I have huge scars and for years I had a problem showing them. It's so important to me that everyone shows themselves as they are. I have to say, these words have given me an incredible amount of strength. I'd like to talk about this much more and exchange ideas with you. It's doing me good. I know there are many people out there who feel the same way, so let's just help each other.
But in the spring of 2025, her Crohn's disease suddenly flared up again.
My illness was dormant over the last decade. It was basically gone. I had minor flare-ups from time to time, but they were never really bad. But now it's been acute for quite some time. I was in hospital for a long time, and I'm back in long-term treatment. It's a bit scary, for sure. But I hope it won't be as bad as it was before. I've been scared at times. I didn't take it seriously at first and pushed it to the back of my mind. You worry about your livelihood, you're self-employed, you've got your job, and of course you're going to worry, and that's not a nice feeling. I'm alone and wanted to take a moment to give you a quick update, because I'm getting so many messages telling me colonoscopies aren't so bad. I know, I've had loads of them. That's not the point. It's just that I'm here in the first place, that I'm not well, that my illness is flaring up again. I just ran with it on social media in particular, taking people with me through the tough times. I've been getting plenty of support from people going through the same thing, as well as a lot of questions. What medication I'm on now, how I'm doing. Yes, it helps to talk about it on social media, and above all to support others, because I see the amount of positive feedback and how it helps people to open up. Because, to put it bluntly, diarrhea isn't exactly a subject you bring up over lunch, but it's important to raise awareness about it. To explain that it's a serious illness affecting many people who can't find a way to talk about it.
4 years after her near-death experience, Leticia also went public with her story.
To this day, I'm still processing the emotional and physical scars. And talking about it, sharing it, is definitely part of the healing process.
Hallihallo, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Folge meines Von Null zu Gold Podcasts. Ich freue mich, dass du heute eingeschaltet hast. Diese Geschichte ist eigentlich auch ein bisschen...
Ich hatte immer so...
I always felt the need to give something back. And then this thought just popped into my head, doing nothing feels really bad. I have to do something. And that's when I got the urge to start a podcast, a platform to share what I've been through.
auf einer Plattform zu teilen. Dieses Erlebnis hat in meinem Leben sehr, sehr viel verändert. Die Nahtoderfahrung hat für mich auf jeden Fall...
The near-death experience definitely shattered my world. At first, of course, it was very painful and profound. On the other hand, it also opened my heart, allowing me to become a more open person.
Leticia now has a new outlook on life, and that includes sport. The European Championships are in 3 weeks. How will she prepare for the competition?
It's a big day today, and I'll soon be welcoming a few brave participants for my workshop.
Teilnehmerin für meinen Workshop, den ich mache.
I'm feeling nervous, but it's a vital nervousness. In the beginning, it's just an idea or a vision, and then you get started, you create and try to get the ideas down on paper somehow, to get the message across in your marketing. And then there's the moment when the registrations come in, and the moment when the people come into the room and you fulfill what's been inside you for so long. That's what makes the moment so perfect. Wonderful. You're all here and you want to connect. Connect with yourselves, but also connect with others. The rational mind can take a back seat, and that works in dance. And notice your response to this new music. What comes alive inside you? This is precisely what's helped me to make sense of this near-death experience. Because at the time, I just didn't understand what was happening to me. That made it really difficult for me to process it all. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But at the same time, I wish it on everyone.
Allen Menschen,
because it changes you forever.
Verändert dich nachhaltig.
The European Championships start today. Leticia is once again among the best in the world, despite her major operations.
I'm actively grateful every day that my body has recovered and regained its strength in a relatively short period of time. Yes, the European Championships are finally underway, where the best compete, and it's always fun to race against the other very strong women.
Aus Deutschland, hier aus Postero, Laethisia Schimek. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, let's go!
I've come into these European Championships in great shape, and today in the one-lap sprint, I was able to show right from the start that I'm one of the quickest. I clocked the 3rd fastest time on the track. But unfortunately in the semi-finals, I collided with another athlete. That cost me a lot of speed and ultimately my place in the A final. Then in the B final, I had a similar situation and ended up in 8th place, which I'm not very happy with. If that had happened to me before the accident, I'd probably be lying in a corner somewhere crying and thinking my life's over. I'm really annoyed that it turned out so badly, but I know that although it's over for this run, it's not the end of the world. I used to chase medals and had to have them as a way of earning happiness and a sense of value. I now realise that I'm already content, that I have everything I could possibly want. To feel this deep love and gratitude that I've somehow always sought, pursued, and worked for. And the answer is, I don't need anything else. I already have it inside me. And that calms everything down.
I'm just starting to build up my muscles again, and that includes going to the stables, so I can start training with my horse again and be able to ride regularly in future. I'd definitely say I live every day like it's my last. Really, if I were to die, I could say, okay, I enjoyed it, I lived every day. I did everything I wanted to do, and I have no regrets. Yes, I'm happy.
My basic sense of trust is much, much greater. When you reach the end, it's all good. And it doesn't matter what came before. I'm not afraid of death anymore.